Let's get updates on the Russia-Ukraine crisis. Russia launched a new wave of air attacks on Kyiv in the early hours of today, using drones and cruise missiles. The military administration of the Ukrainian capital says defense forces shot down more than 40 targets. Officials say there were no major damages or casualties in Kyiv. The attack follows the largest drone barrage launched on Kyiv the previous night, which killed one person and injured several others. The city's military administration said Russia used a combination of Iranian-made drones and cruise missiles with a long-promised Ukrainian counteroffensive looming to recapture territory taken by Russia in the 15 months of the war. Moscow has intensified its attacks, targeting military infrastructure and supplies. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has called Russia's attack the largest on the city since the start of the war. Ukrainian military said it had downed 58 of the 59 launched drones described by the Air Force as a record assault with the Iranian-made kamikaze drones. President Volodymyr Zelensky said all 36 drones targeted in Kyiv had been destroyed. The pre-dawn attacks were launched yesterday when the capital celebrated Kyiv Day, the anniversary of its official founding 1,541 years ago. Russian Defense Ministry spokesman Igor Konashenkov says Russian forces hit Ukrainian air bases overnight and all their targets were destroyed. Russian Defense Ministry spokesperson said, in his words, tonight Russian military carried out a group strike on the enemy's airfields with high-precision, long-range air missiles. He adds the aim of the strikes was reached. All assigned objects were destroyed. As a result of the strike, battle headquarters and radar stations were hit, as well as aviation equipment and weapon depots. Russia's ambassador to the UK, Andrei Kelin, said it was an idealistic mistake to think Ukraine could beat Russia in their ongoing war. Speaking in a televised interview, he said his country was 16 times the size of Ukraine, had enormous resources, and was yet to act very seriously. Mr. Kalin also warned that Western supplies of weapons to Ukraine risked escalating the conflict, and the length of the war depends on the escalation created by NATO countries supplying arms to Ukraine. He adds that sooner or later, of course, this escalation may get a new dimension, which we do not need and we do not want. We can make peace tomorrow. The VOA's Anna Chernikova joins me now. Anna, good to see you today.
Good evening.
Right, so give us updates on the latest missile strikes across Ukraine.
Yeah, it was two very tough nights in a row for Ukraine, and particularly for the city of Kyiv. As you mentioned correctly, it was a Kyiv day yesterday, and night from Saturday to Sunday, it was the most massive drone attack on the city of Kyiv since the beginning of this invasion. More than 40 drones were destroyed in the sky of Kyiv. A lot of debris were unfortunately a lot of debris parts of the debris hit different areas and neighborhoods of Kyiv, causing damages, and one person was killed, as was confirmed by the Ukrainian authorities, particularly Kyiv mayor. Regarding tonight, it was another tough night for Ukraine in general and Kyiv in particular. This night it was a combination of drones and missiles. So it was also quite an intense attack. Just now, General Staff reconfirmed the numbers of tonight's attack, and we know that there were 40 missiles in total and 38 drones in total, and Ukraine destroyed 37 missiles and 29 and 30 drones, meaning that some of the flying objects actually hit certain areas. We don't know exactly all the hits, but Ukrainian authorities confirmed that some of the targets were military targets, and one of the military object in the west of the country was actually hit. Rescue team and firefighters were working on the scene, and we don't have information regarding the casualties, but we have information from the general staff regarding the damages, and certain equipment was destroyed and damaged. Again, no more details on that. In general, if we talk about people, if we talk about cities around, and especially Kyiv, because Kyiv is currently, I can say that it's a month now, this last month of extremely intense shelling of the capital, but Kyiv citizens remain strong and optimistic. Of course, tired, of course, stressed, because people do not sleep normally over the night, and every night is a sleepless night. But still, people are quite positive, and people are not planning to give up, saying that this is something that should not break them. This is generally the mood here in Kyiv, here in Ukraine, and of course everyone is awaiting the active phase of the counteroffensive to start.
Right, Anna, what do you make of Russia's comments that it will be, a grave mistake for Ukraine to think that it can, beat Russia in this war? It's because, Russia is many times bigger than the size of Ukraine, and the veiled threats that, the war can escalate if NATO or anyone else continues to support Ukraine with arms.
Well, I can say that this is the rhetorics of Russia in general. So this do not change Ukraine's plans on defeating itself and liberating its territories, and standing up for its country, because what we can see, all these attacks, they're not only targeting military infrastructure and critical infrastructure, but particularly people, particularly the society. So people are in danger every night. So for Ukraine, it's not only about territories, but it's also about survival of the nation. And of course, Russia would continue to push this rhetorics, and even probably we will see some, intensifying statements about Russian plans to intensify the attacks, or to strengthen their forces at the battlefield if Ukraine do not stop. So this is the rhetorics that is happening since 2014, actually. And Ukraine has no choice, because if Ukraine is not fighting, then Ukraine would just fall to Russia and would stop existing. So this is just very different view on the same situation. So if Russia is trying to demonstrate that if Ukraine would not fight, the war would stop. This is not exactly what Russia was saying before, because before Russia wanted Ukraine to just give up and to just fall to Russia. So for Ukraine is no choice but to fight. And of course, Ukraine will do everything possible to defend itself, to liberate territories, and this is what President Zelensky mentioned a lot of times, and all Ukrainian officials and military, particularly, and intelligence as well. So it's just no choice for Ukraine on this side.
So with Ukrainian counteroffensive looming 15 months into the war, Moscow has intensified airstrikes after a lull of nearly 2 months, targeting chiefly military sites and supplies. Are we seeing renewed intimidation here?
I don't think that we should, view it as something completely new or something completely different from what was happening before, because similar things were happening just it was a different tactic. So now Russia is really intensifying these attacks on the civilian society during the night, trying to making additional pressure, psychological pressure and emotional pressure on people, because of course people are getting tired. This is the fact, but it doesn't mean that this would change people's approach, and people would say, oh well, let's stop fighting. I think that it works a little different way, because people are just getting more angry and people want to fight even more. So what also it could be, because of course we understand that the change of tactics is not only because Russia wants, for instance, to make life of people more difficult, but also probably it's because there is a new tactic of attacking certain military infrastructure and military facilities, and maybe also it could be that the goal is to actually make everything possible to not allow Ukrainian army to be successful at the counteroffensive, or to be as successful as they could be. So we will see, of course, how what this would lead to, but definitely the change of tactic is not about the fact that Russia has huge potential, like even more and more and more. Of course, Russian resources are also getting less, and we understand that both sides are having a lot of losses, and not only manpower but equipment as well. And so this change of tactic, I think it's more about just military tactic, plan A, plan B, but it's not. It doesn't mean, as Russia is trying to demonstrate, that they have unbelievable capacity or capacities that cannot be finished at all. So of course there are limits for everyone, and
Yeah.
I would not call this intimidation for Ukraine.
I must thank you, Anna, for giving us updates on the situation in Russia and Ukraine. The VOA's Anna Chernikova.
Thank you.